So our today's topic is the types of fossils and their study technique. As you know, we have already discussed the geological timescale, and in the geological timescale, this whole geological timescale is dependent on the fossil record. Which type of fossil record we found in which type of the era, in which type of the period, or in which type of the epoch is always deciding factor that which type of the biodiversity or the plant life or the animal life were there on the Mother Earth at that time. Okay, so the fossil records are the very important treasures we have today to study the ancient life on the Mother Earth. Okay, which type of life were present on the Mother Earth, this is actually studied by the fossils. No other method is there, or the no other specific material is there other than the fossil to study the earlier life which is present on the Mother Earth. So that is why these fossils become very much important in the studies of the plant life or the animal life or the microbes life, because all of the previous life or the ancient life can be studied with the help of fossils. That is why we should know what is fossil, which type of fossils are there, and how we can study them, which type of the study techniques are there to study these specific fossils. Generally, we have been told that the fossils were actually giving us the right idea that in which period, which kind of the plants or animal life is there on the Mother Earth. So how we can date this particular fossil, how we can manage to place such a fossil into the specific periods or the eras or the epochs. Okay, all these questions will come under the study techniques of the fossils. Okay, so in this particular video lecture we are going to understand what is meant by the fossils, how they are studied, and what are different types of the fossils. Okay, now consider this is your syllabus. We are dealing with the paper 1 and the chapter 3, that is the phanerogams. Under this phanerogams you have to study gymnosperms as well as the angiosperms. Okay, so we are here at the types of fossils and their study technique. Very important topic from the UPSC mains examination point of view, because fossils were always asked by the UPSC. Okay, and their study techniques hold the equal value as the fossils. Okay, so let's study what is fossil, what types of fossils are there, and which type of study techniques were applied to study the fossils. Okay, consider the introductory slide. See, the study of the ancient life with the help of fossil is called paleontology. Okay, whenever we try to study the ancient life on the Mother Earth with the help of fossils, this particular branch of the study is called as paleontology. You should carefully remember the word paleontology, because under this paleontology we studied the fossil, whether it belongs to the plant fossil or it's an animal fossil. All these fossils were studied under the branch called as the paleontology, and this paleontology is nothing but the study of the ancient life. Whatever the life is present on the Mother Earth in the form of fossil, when we study these fossils, it all comes under the paleontology. For example, if you study the plant, the study of plant science is called botany. The study of animal science is called zoology. In the similar way, study of the fossils of the ancient life is called as the paleontology. Okay, now fossils are the dead remains of the plants or animals that lived in the past in the various geological layers. See, what is fossil? Fossil is nothing but the plant or animal remain. Whatever the plants are there, whatever the animals are there, or whatever any other microorganism is there, if the plant, animal, or remain is there, this remain is in the geological layers. Why we are using the term geological layers? Because in the earth crust there are the different layers, and under these different layers, these are specific fossils tends to found. Okay, so we found the fossils in these geological layers, and these are nothing but the remains of the plants or the animal life. Whatever the remains of the plants are there, whatever the remains of the animals are there, which is actually got preserved due to some or the another way, or there are many natural ways in which these fossils can get fossilized. Okay, or they remain intact, and due to this fossilization they remain in the geological layers. And once we found out them, we studied them under the category of paleontology, and we try to extract the maximum knowledge relating with this particular fossil. So whatever the fossil we found today from the Cretaceous period, or from the Jurassic period, or from the different eras, the 6 eras we have studied, if anywhere if you find the fossil, we tends to age it. Okay, and place it according to the time they lived on the Mother Earth into the different eras or the different periods or the epochs. Okay, so what are fossils? Fossils are nothing but the remains, whatever the remain of the plants or animal life is there, and it is gets somehow preserved in the different geological layers. And once we find out that fossil, we tend to study it and accurately place it on the geological time scale. All right, now consider this. See, the study of fossils provide the most convincing and the direct evidence of the evolution. See, why we are saying that it is providing the direct evidence for the evolution? Because we know that we have studied the 3 orders of the extinct gymnosperms. So we know which type of gymnosperms were there in the ancient time, and now which type of the gymnosperm we have in today's date. So how the evolution has occurred in the gymnosperms, we can directly study it through using the 3 extinct orders of the gymnosperm, and whatever the present day gymnosperms are there, we can compare them. So these fossils are very very important because they are providing the direct evidence for of the evolution. Because whenever we tend to study the evolution, there is a lack of evidence always. Okay, how the evolution has occurred and why evolution has occurred, and which path does the evolution takes. All these questions are there in the evolutionary studies. But the fossils are the such a record that we can directly conclude that which type of the fossils were there in the ancient time and which type of the plant life we have today. And once you compare these two, what you will come to know? You will come to know that there is you will have the direct evidence of the evolution, that earlier this type of gymnosperms were present on the mother earth, now this type of the gymnosperms were present on the mother earth. At that time such a environment was there, and now we have the different environment today. So this particular environment is supporting different kind of gymnosperm, and this particular environment were supporting the different kind of gymnosperm. So through these fossil studies we have the direct evidence of the evolution. Now this is very very important, because direct evidence of evolution we do not find in many categories, because many a times when we study the evolutionary biology, we tends to lack the support from the natural sources or any other non biological source, because these do not provide any reliable resource to study the evolution. But the fossils, whatever the fossils are there, these are most convincing and the direct evidence of the evolution, because they are providing the direct whatever the direct evidence is there. You can place it in the laboratory, you can study it, you can design a structure, and you can say that such and such a plant is present in the ancient time, and these plants may have got evolved into these type of plants, right? Remember, if you have remember, we have studied the Rhynia in the pteridophyte category. We have the three orders of the gymnosperm. All these are the extinct forms of the plant. And how we found today gymnosperms and the pteridophytes, we can correlate with them, and on the basis of this, we can actually find out the direct evidence for the evolution. Okay, now see, the fossils are formed in the sedimentary rocks. Where the fossils get formed, see, what are the places where these fossils are get formed? Where there are the different places, they were formed anywhere on the mother earth actually, but the sedimentary rocks are the most potent places where they always get formed. Okay, majority of the sedimentary rock possesses the raw fossils of the ancient life. Then there is amber. Amber is nothing but the yellowish fossil resin. Okay, it's a resin, and inside this resin, somehow the insect or the small animals got trapped and they got preserved, and such a fossil is called as the amber. Okay, then they can be fossilized in the ice, or they can be fossilized in the pit bogs as well. So there are many places where these fossils can get fossilized. Where what these places are? These can be the sedimentary rocks, this can be the amber, this can be the ice, this can be the peat bogs. All these places we can on this all these places you can find the fossil record. Okay, fossils can be found anywhere on these places. So whenever you try to categorize the mother earth where you can find the maximum of the fossil record, the one thing is sure that all over the earth you can find the fossil record. But whenever there is a maximum life in the ancient time, in that areas of the maximum life you will tend to find the maximum fossil record as well. Okay, so sedimentary rocks, amber, ice, pit box, these are some places which on which you will find the maximum of the fossil record. Okay, now consider this. See the process of fossilization, how the fossilization has occurred on the mother earth. See, during the fossilization, the primitive forms of organism occupy the older or the lower layers, and the advanced form occupy the upper and the most recent layers of the earth. Now see, this comes with the very common sense. Now understand, consider this picture. See, this is the lower layer of the earth crust. Okay, you can consider these are the middle layers of the earth crust, and these are the newest layer of the earth crust. Now what is important here while studying the fossil record? Now if you find the fossil here at the bottom, at the lower end, these are the ancient fossils, because this surface of this particular strata is exposed when that time these particular organisms were living there. So the most ancient or the primitive form tends to occupy the older and the lower layers in the geological strata. Whatever the geological strata is there, this whole is the geological strata. The lower layer will always be occupied by the ancient organism, while the upper layers will always be occupied by the most recent organism. So for example, here you have find the 5 fossil, here you have find the 1 fossil, here you have find the 5 fossil, and here you have find the 10 fossil. So these are 10 fossils are surely is of the recent time, because they were found in the upper geological layer. Here we have the upper geological layer, and if you find the fossil on this upper geological layer, you will find out that these were the recent fossil, and these are 5 fossils which were found in the most lower strata. This is the most ancient life. So the more important information can be taken out from these type of fossils. Okay, while the recent fossils can out of this, some can be the living fossil as well, right? So some of the plants or animal lives which is present today can even be get buried due to some or the another reason in this particular research strata. But whatever the ancient fossils were there, this definitely may have got extinct from the mother earth today. So if we find the fossil record from the lower strata and the upper strata, the lower strata of fossils will always have the more importance when it compared to the upper strata of fossils. Okay, but what is important to understand here? Whenever there is a lower layers, whenever you find the fossils in the lower layers, these are of the ancient life, and if you find it in the upper layer, it will be the recent life. All right. Now understand this. See, the animals or the plants are only preserved and fossilized when they get suddenly buried. Now this is very, very important to understand. Now see, to get fossilized, if the plants or the animal life is to get fossilized, they should get buried suddenly. Okay, that is the act should be the sudden act, and suddenly they have got deep into the ground and they got preserved. Okay, because as you know, in the whenever there is a death of the plants or animal, you know what happens after the death. There is a process of decomposition. Now after the decomposition, the whole body cannot get preserved. Now to get preserved, the animal or the plant life should suddenly be get buried inside the mother earth. Once they get suddenly buried in the mother earth, the process of decomposition will not have time to decompose this particular body of the plants or animal. It should get suddenly buried inside the mother earth in the silt of water, or say lava, or say ice, or say sand. Then and only then it will get preserved, and we will find later it in the form of fossil record. So whatever fossil record we are finding today, these are all get suddenly buried inside the mother earth, and that is why they got preserved. Because if there is a natural death, the decomposition will follow. After the decomposition, there will not be remains of the plants or animal life, because in the process of decomposition you will find all the important parts or body parts of the plants or animals, they got decomposed by the decomposers, and it will not get preserved. So to create the fossil, what is important, the plant or animal should get buried suddenly. Okay, in the live form they get suddenly buried inside the mother earth, so that they will get preserved in the either in the water, in the lava, in the ice, or in the sand. Now how this can be happened? Now as you know, there are the earthquakes, right? During the earthquakes, the sudden there is a breakage in the upper layer of the mother earth, and majority of the plants or animals which are living around that area will get buried suddenly. Okay, so this can form the fossil. While on the other hand, the natural deaths will not create the fossils, because in the after the natural death of the plants or animals or of the microbes, the decomposition will follow, and decomposition will not allow the fossils to get created. So the very prime criteria required to get fossilized for the plants and animal life is to get buried suddenly, whether it is inside the water, lava, ice, or the sand. Okay, if they got buried suddenly, they can get preserved. Okay, now as soon as the animal, plants, or any other organism dies, the body decomposes sooner or later. So due to the decomposition, you will not have fossil, because in the process of decomposition, whether it's the organic matter in the dead remains or the inorganic matter in the dead remains, all get decomposed, and this organic matter is got consumed, and this inorganic matter is got recycled. So there is a no remains of the plants or animal life. So to why we are finding today the fossil record, because they were got buried suddenly. Okay, in the live form they have got buried inside the water, or inside the lava, or inside the ice, or inside the sand, and due to this they have got preserved in the different layers of the earth. Okay, so what is important to get fossilized? The plants or animal life should get buried suddenly. All right, now understand this. See, now decomposition is caused by the several agents, as you already know. We have studied this decomposition throughout various video lectures. See, this decomposition, for this decomposition, several organisms are responsible for this particular process of decomposition. See, scavengers of all sorts, from the vultures to the bacteria to the fungi, take care of the soft spots of the dead remains of the plants or animal life. See, this is the animal which get dead in the forest. Okay, now what is happening? Whatever the soft parts are there on the body of these animals, these are soon get decomposed by the vultures or the bacteria or the fungus. Okay, vultures actually eat this flesh from the dead animals, and the bacteria and the fungi were also tends to extract the maximum energy out of this soft whatever the soft mass possessed by this particular dead animal. So as soon as the natural death occurs, the various natural sources, okay, different types of vultures, different types of bacteria, and different types of fungi extract all the energy from the flesh of the dead animal, right? So it will not get preserved. After that, the whatever the harder tissue will remain there. For example, shells are there, bones are there, woods are there. These are more resistant, but still there are certain kinds of enzyme which are secreted by the fungi and the bacteria, acids occurring naturally in the soil, and combined action of the natural agents such as water, wind, and temperature destroys even the hardest organic remains with the time. So now you can understand why the sudden burial should be there to create the fossil. Because whenever the naturally plant or animal dies there, the softer parts were quickly absorbed by the fungi, bacteria, and vulture-like organism. Now whatever the harder parts remain there, these harder parts are tends to exposed to the different actions of the enzymes which are secreted by the fungi or the bacteria. Then naturally acids were present in the soil. Then the environmental agents were also there. For example, rain is there, wind is there, temperature is there. All these factors were act upon these harder parts, and sooner or later these hardened parts also got disappeared. Okay, so you know that the decomposition is very strong process. Whether it's the soft tissues are there, whether it's the hard bones are there, all these things will get decomposed over a period of time. So natural death will not create any type of the fossil record. You should have clear cut idea about this. Whenever there is a natural death of the any animal or the plant on the mother earth, it will not create any type of fossil. To create the fossil, the plant or animal life must get suddenly buried inside the mother earth, so that it will found in the different strata later. Okay, so whatever today we find the fossil record, these all got suddenly buried inside the water or the ice. Okay, there are different places where they can get buried, right? In the sand, inside the mother earth, right? So the one thing is pretty sure regarding the fossil studies is that to create the fossil, the plant or animal life should get suddenly buried, and if it does not get suddenly buried and natural death is there, the decomposition will follow, and either whether it's a soft tissue or the hard tissue, it will decompose over a period of time. Okay, now consider this. See, however, under special circumstances, okay, now whenever we say the death, the natural death, it will always be accompanied by the process of decomposition, and it will disappear the whole body of an organism. Okay, but under the special circumstances, okay, there are special circumstances under which they can also get preserved. Some parts may get preserved with a varying amounts of modification to form the fossils. Okay, these are exceptional things, but 99.99% the dead organism on the mother earth will get decomposed. But exceptionally, okay, some parts, if they fall onto to the right place at the right time, they then and only then they will able to form the fossils. Okay, now see, the shells which are the inorganic in nature are usually preserved completely unaltered. Okay, so whatever the shells are there, you can see in this particular picture, these are all these shells which are got preserved. These are the external body parts of a certain insect, and these shells is creating here fossil record, right? Like this. So these cells are inorganic in nature, and these inorganic cells tends to get somehow preserved under the rocks. Okay, so the shells of these animals, these animals were lived in the past on the mother earth. They have created these particular partial fossil record, and their outer shell is got preserved somehow. Okay, because these outer shells may have taken some more time to get decomposed, and what may have happened in between, the earthquake like thing may have happened in between this time, and these may have got trapped on the between the rocks. Okay, between the two rocks, and they somehow got preserved. Okay, because the more time were required to decompose the shells, and in this meantime these shells may have got fossilized. Okay, this is the logical explanation for this. Now we have the shells in the form of fossil record, and this type of fossil records were always found along the seashores. Okay, so different types of fossil records we have for these shells, because these shells were not decomposed sooner when the organisms get dead. Okay, now see, the bones or the woods on the other hand are often get mineralized or the petrified, that is they convert into the stones. See, for example, see, if the bones or the wood is got fossilized, they actually first got mineralized. Okay, and the different types of minerals got deposited into it, or sometimes they got even petrified, that is they turned into the stone like structure. Now understand this second picture. This is the wood. of the plant, and this is the fossil wood, okay, which is actually got petrified, that is turned into the stone, okay. It is almost converted into the stone, because there are the plant parts, and in between whatever the space is there, it is occupied by the different minerals, so it got very hard, okay. That is some form of stones are there, stony material is there which is present in between these parts, but the whole wood is a fossil record, okay, because it is showing the characteristic feature of the wood, although it is got petrified over a period of time. And what is petrification? Petrification is nothing but the natural wood or the bone is getting converted into the stone, okay. So these stones, these particular woods which got petrified is also a popular source of the fossil record, okay. So there are many shells or the woods, they may have got preserved due to the some or the another way, and once they got preserved, they can get petrified or the mineralized, and they can got converted into the stones, okay. So under the special circumstances, the parts of the plants or the animal, they may have got preserved, and we are finding it today in the form of various kinds of the fossils, okay. Now consider this. See, the organic matter in the wood or the bone gradually disintegrates, okay. Whatever the organic matter is there inside this wood, it slowly got disintegrated. That is, the organic matter is getting consumed by the environmental factors, leaving the structure somewhat porous, okay. So porous structure is remain there. So whatever the solid structure were earlier there, now it is not the solid structure, but it is showing the porous structure now, because in between whatever the organic material, whatever the organic matter is there, this organic matter is got consumed over a period of time. Now it will have the porous structure like this, okay. So the loose porous structure will always remain there. Then water seeps into the interior of the bone, and the mineral dissolved in the water are slowly deposited there. So what will happen? If the rain is there, the water droplet will occupy the places in this porous wood, and whatever the minerals are there in the water, they got slowly deposited into this porous wood. And over a period of time, this whole wood is got petrified, or this bone is got petrified, okay, like this, and it will become the very solid again, okay. So the organic content, whatever the organic content which is naturally present in the particular wood, these natural content is got disappeared, or the organic content is got disappeared over a period of time, and now it is got replaced by the minerals which is present in the water, and that is why it got petrified or mineralized, okay. And that is why we find these type of structures in today's fossil record, because the organic content of this particular wood is removed over a period of time, but the minerals are got deposited inside this particular wood structure, okay, or the bone, right. So these processes are always occurring in the nature. Now the porosity gradually filled with the deposits of such a mineral such as the lime or the silica. So which type of the minerals were depositing there? The lime or the silica type of the minerals were deposited into these particular fossils. That is, the bones may be there, or the woods may be there. These processes were occurring in these fossils, okay. So what happens first? The organic matter is got removed. Due to this porosity occurs, the wood become porous. So the water enter, and water left behind the minerals inside these particular porous wood or the bone, and these minerals are generally the lime or the silica, okay. Now the portion of the original structure composed of the inorganic material may remain substantially as it is, as they were in the life, okay, or may dissolve away and replaced by the minerals, okay. So majority of the time, the whatever the inorganic content is there, so organic content is already got removed, and whatever the inorganic content is there, these inorganic contents were actually got preserved, or they may get as the fossil is got old, the inorganic content is also got removed over a period of time. But in the some fossil, you will find the intact inorganic content of the wood or the bone, okay. So whatever the inorganic content is there in the different forms of the material is there, it will get preserved, okay, as it is, okay, or sometimes it is even got replaced by the minerals as well, okay. So complete structure of the wood or the bone can be mineralized, or the partial structure of the wood or bone can be get mineralized, okay. So if the petrification occurs completely, it will got completely converted into the stones, okay. The stony appearance is there, but still, but just by examining the external structure, we can actually find out that this is the fossil and not the stone, okay. So how this happened? Because the whether it's a bone or whether it is a wood, it is always made up of the organic and the inorganic matter. The organic matter tends to remove very easily, and it will create the porous structure. After the porous structure, the water will enter into these porous structure and left behind the minerals, and hence these minerals were depositing in the whatever the blank spaces are there inside these particular porous structure, right? And these particular deposits of the minerals are in the form of lime or the silica. Okay, so the inorganic material maybe remain intact there, or it will also get replaced by the minerals. All right. Now consider. See, the replacing material may be preserved the details of the original structure with the great fidelity, or on the other hand, it may preserve only the general form of structure. See, this is very important. Once we get complete mineralized fossil, this mineralized fossil may able to give you the clear structure, the original structure shape. Okay. Now consider, this is the petrified wood. Okay, that is, this wood is getting converted into the stone, but see the original shape, original structure of the wood. So just by examining the morphology of these petrified wood, you will come to know which type of the trunks or the stem possessed by the plants at that time, because the general morphology is got preserved, although there is a removal of the organic content or the inorganic content, but the external general original structure is there. Okay, it can give the details with the great fidelity. Okay, actually, while on the other hand, it may only preserve the general form of the original. If it got more petrified, if it got more mineralized, it will only show the general form of the original structure. So in this particular picture, you will see the general form of the original structure, because all things are got replaced, but these type of structures were actually exist in the past. This we know from this particular fossil record, right? So from this fossil record, what you will come to know, the general form, whatever the general forms are there, we can conclude that these type of forms were present in the ancient life on the mother earth. Okay, so completely petrified wood or the completely petrified bones are still of use. Okay, because we can at least conclude the which type of the which shape were actually possessed by the stems or the bones at that time, right? All right. So yet the fossils may contain some of the original material found in the living organism. Okay, it will all depend on the time at which time we have found the fossil record. Okay, if we found the fossil record earliest, yes, then we will find some amount of the original material which is deposited inside this particular wood or the bone, right? For example, say here we have the example, amino acids have been found in the fossils of the millions of years ago. That is amino acid, which are the building blocks of the proteins. These are the found in the fossil record, which is found, which is of the million years old. Okay, so the amino acid still got preserved inside these structures. So it will all depend on which timing you will find the fossil record, and if you find the fossil record earliest as possible, you will find some amount of the organic and inorganic content as well. Okay, if it is not get completely mineralized or the completely petrified. Okay, so we can even try to extract the amino acid like biomolecules from these particular fossil records. Okay, now see, the fossil records are formed in a variety of ways. We know that depending upon the organic material involved, that is, which type of the organic material is there, which type of environmental conditions are there, and depending upon these two criteria, we have the two classes of the fossils. Okay, that is, if the fossilization is occurring, the process of fossilization is occurring, and this process of fossilization depending upon two factors, that is, which kind of organic content they have and which type of the environmental conditions were there. Depending upon this, we can have the two types of the fossils actually. Okay, so fossilization process, depending upon the fossilization process and which type of the general conditions are there in the form of organic material involved, and which type of environmental conditions are there, depending upon this, we have the two classes for the fossils. The very first is the unaltered fossil. Okay, which type is the first type? First type is the unaltered fossil. So as the name suggests, unaltered means the one which is as it is. Okay, altered means changed. Okay, and unaltered, that literally means it does not get changed. Okay, so unaltered fossils is the first class of these particular fossils. See, some specimens are preserved relatively unchanged from their original structures. For example, teeth, bones, and shells occasionally found virtually intact buried in the sediments. So there are certain structures, for example, teeth of an organism, bones of the organism, or the shells of the organism. These are the solid structures. Okay, these are the solid structures, and these are not easily decomposed by the decomposers as well. So this type of material, which is very solid in nature, for example, the teeth, bones, and the shells, they can virtually remain unchanged over a period of time, and we can found them intact in the fossil form, and that is why rightfully we have described them as unaltered fossil, the fossil which does not get changed over a period of time. We are finding the intact teeth, intact bones, and intact shells of the organism which were lived on the mother earth millions of years ago. Okay, so such a kind of fossils where comes under the unaltered fossils, right? So what are the unaltered fossils? The unaltered fossils are those of fossils which remain relatively unchanged over a period of time, and they were found in the original conditions. So which type of fossils were actually found in such a condition? Is the teeth, right? So the bones are there, then the shells are there. With the common sense, we know that these are the general solid forms of the organism, right? Because the softer tissue tends to decompose very quickly, but whatever the harder tissue are there, they are tends to get preserved over a period of time. Some of them remain unaltered, some of them remain unchanged, and that is why they form the category of the unaltered fossils. Okay, because they contain these are the very different with relation to the organic content they have, and the what type of environmental condition we're acting upon them. Okay, so these are the unaltered fossils. An example for this is the teeth, bones, and the shells of an animals. Right now, see, even more dramatically, if you take the example of the unaltered fossil, we have the dramatic example for this on the Mother Earth today. See, even more dramatically, remains of organisms have been frozen in the Arctic ice fields. Whatever the Arctic area, whatever the ice fields are there, the complete body of an organism is got preserved under this ice as it is. Not the body part. We are not talking about the body part this time. We are not talking about the teeth. We are not talking about the bones, but the whole organism is got preserved in the Arctic ice millions of years ago. For example, see the mammoths, an extinct form of a related elephant. Okay, it's a elephant-like organism which is called the mammoth. It is now extinct now. Have been found in their hairy entirety throughout the Siberia. In the Siberia region, in the icy region, in this Siberia region, we have found out this mammoth, which is completely got preserved inside the ice and have served as an extensive source of the fossil ivory. So it is like a whole fossil we have found out of an organism. As you can see in this particular picture, these types of bones were there, this type of head is there, then this type of trunk is there. All things are got preserved. So we can actually, as it is desired, this particular mammoth today, because we have found it intact in the Arctic ice. Whatever the Arctic ice is there, as you know, ice is the very good way to get fossilized, because ice never expose the body to get decomposed. Okay, ice is always preserving the thing. As we know from our refrigerator examples, right? We have in our homes a refrigerator, and they tends to preserve the material. On the similar lines, these mammoths is got preserved in the Arctic ice, and they have remained as it is over millions of years. Okay, so the intact form of an organism, which is an mammoth, which is an form of an elephant, were found in the Arctic ice. So this is the biggest example we can have for the unaltered fossil. As it is fossil, the whole organism, the whole body of organism is got as it is preserved, and that is why it comes under the unaltered fossil. Okay, now see. See, second one is called as the altered fossil. As the name suggests, the fossil will got altered. Okay, it will get changed over a period of time. Okay, now the organisms become more or less completely changed by the infiltration of the minerals from the surrounding rocks, right? For example, bones and the woods. So we already know, we have studied the process of mineralization, right? Then we have studied the process of petrification. In these processes, whatever the fossil record is there, this fossil record is got completely changed into the different fossil record, which is generally happen due to the mineral deposition, that is the mineralization, or completely get converting into the stone like structure, that is the petrification. So in the altered fossil, we have alteration in the fossil. The original structure is not there, but over a period of time, the processes like mineralization and petrification is converting the original structure into some different kind of structure. And that is why there is another category of the fossil record which is called as the altered fossil, because they have got changed over a period of time due to the some or the another reason. Now see, for such a fossil, the term petrification is used, that is turning into the stone. The petrified forest of the Yellowstone National Park and the Arizona Painted Desert of the USA are the examples of the petrification. Okay, here if you go to the Yellowstone National Park, there you will find the petrified forest. Okay, that is complete forest were there which got suddenly buried inside the water or inside the Mother Earth, and these are not exposed with the fossil records. And if you go to the Yellowstone National Park, you can actually find the whole forest which is got petrified. Okay, whole forest is there, and this forest is got petrified due to the millions of years of mineralization or the petrification. Okay, so the Yellowstone National Park's petrified forest are the example for this petrification, and the Arizona Painted Desert is as well the example for the petrification, in which the whatever the earlier life were there on the mother earth, it got suddenly buried, and now we have find out these are forest, and these are forest have got converted into the completely into the stones, or it got they got mineralized, in the simple words. Okay, so mineralization is there, petrification is there, and these petrified and the mineralized type of the fossils we found today in the mother earth, right? So all these kinds of the fossils will come under the altered fossil. So what are the processes which are actually responsible for this altered fossils? For this, we have the different processes, and we are going to study them one by one. Okay, now see, sometimes the original hard parts of an organism get completely altered due to the various factors. So various factors are there in which the mineralization, petrification, all this comes under, and these processes were actually converting the whole structure, whether it's a soft structure or the hard structure, into the completely new structure, okay, or say petrified structure or mineralized structure. See, the very first is the carbonization. See what happens in the carbonization. If there is a altered fossil, that is the fossil is getting altered, then which type of the processes were taking place to get these fossils altered? See, the very first process is the carbonization. Now what happens in the carbonization? Occasionally the disintegrating soft parts of the body leave behind the thin film of the carbon. Now see, whatever the fossil is there, whether it's a plant fossil or the animal fossil, all the short parts, when it got disintegrate from the one another, a very thin film of the carbon is remained there. So this thin film of the carbon serves as a fossil record, and the process under which this thin film of the carbon is got created, this is called as the carbonization. So the original structure, whatever the original structure is there in the form of soft or the hard tissue, it got disintegrated over a period of time due to the natural or the natural sources, whether it's a biological or the abiological. But what is left behind? A thin film of carbon. Only the carbon remains there, and this process is called as the carbonization, and we are finding this carbon thin film of carbon only. And from this thin film of carbon, we can point out certain things if you study this carbon footprint did in detail. Okay, and this carbon footprint can also be served as a fossil. So what happens in a carbonization? The different body, soft parts of the animals or the plants is got disintegrated, just leaving behind the thin film of carbon, and then this thin film of carbon act as a fossil record. Now see, the due to the carbonization have been obtained the exact body outlines. Okay, what we will get the body outlines only. For example, see, if there are this kind of animal is there, and this kind of animal is got petrified over a period of time. Okay, so this kind of animal is there, but what happened over a period of time, the softer tissue is got decompose over a period of time, or they got crushed beneath the earth surface, and whatever the harder tissue were there, these are also got petrified or the mineralized over a period of time. But what is left behind? A thin film of carbon. See, like this, the thin film of carbon is there. Okay, like this, only the carbon form, a thin film of carbon form is there. This is remained there, and whatever the original structure, this structure is there, this original structure is got petrified, or it got mineralized, or it got disappeared due to some or another reason. Now what we have is only the outline. See, this is an outline. So from this outline you can actually draw the shape of an organism like this. Okay, that such a type of shape of an organism is possessed at that time, which is got fossilized. Okay, so the general outline you can obtain from this thin carbon film. Okay, so these thin carbon films are responsible for giving the general body outline of an organism, and this is important too, because the which type of the body shapes were possessed by the animals millions of years ago, we can know by using this thin carbon film. Okay, now of the extinct swimming reptiles, for example, such as Echinosaurus, and of the other organisms such as jellyfishes, worms, and the leaves, etc., are the example for this. Okay, if the plant leaves is got preserved in such a way, then like Echinosaurus is preserved in such a way, jellyfishes are preserved in such a way. Here you will find the example of a Echinosaurus. Okay, and here you will have the general outline of the Echinosaurus. Okay, so you can actually draw the external outline of the body by using this thin carbon film. Okay, so whenever there is an altered fossil, this altered fossil can be created by using the different kinds of carbon film is got created over a period of time. Okay, and this process is called as the carbonization. Okay, very important thing, you should remember it very carefully. This is called as the carbon thin film, and the process is called as the carbonization, in which we get the exact body outline of an organism. Okay. Now consider this. See the petrification. The second process in which the fossil is got altered is called petrification. Now see, when the mineral-rich water penetrates through the pores left behind by the decomposition of the organic matter of the harder parts, the mineral is got deposited in the pores, and the process is called petrification. Right? We have already discussed it. Now what happens whenever there is a death of the plants or animals, the decomposition starts to decompose this the particular dead animal or the plant. Now due to the decomposition, the structure is got porous. Okay. And due to this porosity, whenever there is a water tends to enter into these particular porous structures of the fossils, and these porous structures is got mineralized. Due to this, whatever the minerals are there in the water body, these are got deposited on the particular particular fossil, and this fossil is got hardened over a period of time. Actually, it is getting converted into the stone due to the deposition of minerals like lime or the silica. Okay, after the rain, right? So due to this, it is completely got petrified. So what is petrification? Petrification is nothing but the deposition of the minerals in the porous structure of the plants or the animal remains. And once it got deposited perfectly, it will actually convert the whole softer part into the stony part, and the process is called as the petrification. Okay. Now understand this: the deposition of the minerals makes these fossils harder parts more resistant to the withering agent. Now what happens? Now once there is a wood, consider this is an wood, and process of the petrification is occurring. Okay, this is the wood, and you see this is the front view of the wood. And what is happening? The process of decomposition has started, and whatever the organic content is there, okay, whatever the organic content is there, this organic content which is present inside these wood is getting removed due to the natural forces. Okay. Now due to this, what will happen? The cavities like this will get formed inside these woods. Okay. So the cavities like this will form inside these woods, and this wood which is forming this cavity will become porous. Okay. How it will become? It will become porous. Porous means the one which has the pores, the small holes like this. It will become porous over a period of time. Okay. Now what will happen? If the rain is there, and if this particular wood is getting in contact with the water, what will happen? The water will come inside like this. Okay. And as you know, water will contain the natural minerals as well. So what will happen? The minerals will get deposited into these pores like this. Okay. So the pores is got filled over a period of time due to the deposition of the water. Okay. These pores are getting completely filled inside the pores. Okay, whatever the pores are there, the minerals are getting deposited here. Now what will happen over a period of time? These all pores will got filled by the minerals. Okay, and due to this filling of the pores by the minerals, this particular wood become even harder. Okay, and it will now be more resistant, even more resistant to the natural withering. Okay, natural withering will not takes place inside this particular wood, because the it is now getting even harder when compared to its actual form. Okay, so over a period of time, the mineral deposition occurred like this, and due to this mineral deposition, the particular wood is got petrified over a period of time. So this process is called as the petrification, in which the whole wood is getting converted into the stone-like structure over a period of time. Okay, through the structure, you will have the general outline of the structure as well. Some of the inorganic form is also got preserved. Okay, and much of the ancient life is preserved like this due to the petrification. Okay, so understand the petrification, because majority of the time UPSC will simply ask you what is petrification and give it significance. Okay, so petrification is nothing but the formation of the fossil in which there is a first porosity occurs due to the removal of organic content, and after that, the inside these pores, so the deposition of the water, deposition of the minerals occur due to the water, and as the deposition occurs due to the minerals, these get solidified and even become harder and more resistant to the environmental agents. Okay, and that is why it got preserved in the petrified form. Now structures such as the fibers, then the woods, or the pores or the lamellae even in the shells are perfectly preserved. This is called as the histomatosis. So, okay, histomatosis. This term is actually used to denote this particular type of the petrification. Okay, if it happens with the fiber woods or the pores and the lamellae in the shells. Okay, so you should carefully remember the process of petrification, and because this petrification is the important term, and majority of the time UPSC like to ask this particular question. Okay, now see. The third process in which the fossil is got altered is called as the mineralization. Now, what happens in the mineralization? See, sometimes the certain specific structures of the fossils remains get replaced by the specific mineral. That is, there is a fossilized structure, but this fossilized structure, the certain part of it or the whole structure is got replaced with the specific mineral, and this process is called as the mineralization. See, for example, sometimes what is happening here, the specific structure of the fossil, whatever the specific structure of the fossil is there, this specific structure of fossil remain is got replaced with the specific mineral. Okay, whatever the specific mineral is there, these specific minerals are replacing the original structure. As you can see in this particular picture, this is an fossil, but it got replaced completely by the mineral, and the process is called as the mineralization. So due to the mineralization, again, this particular process is responsible for the creation of the unaltered fossils. Okay, so unaltered fossils are those fossils, altered fossils. Okay, due to this process, again, the altered fossils is got created. Okay, so the process of carbonization, the first process, then the process of petrification, which is the second process, the process of the mineralization, the third process. All these processes are responsible for the creation of the altered fossil, that is the changed fossil over a period of time. Okay, for example, see mineralization of the sieve tubes, okay, which are found in the today angiosperms, vessels, and the cells of the woody tissue of the plants got mineralized over a period of time. Okay, these are the examples for the mineralization. So all these processes in which there are the carbonization, petrification, mineralization, these are responsible for the creation of the unaltered fossils. Okay, now see, now there is another kind of classification of the fossil record, because when we classify the fossil into the altered fossil and the unaltered fossil, these are the two broad categories, but there are certain other categories as well in which the fossil is got different types. So one of them is the actual remains of the fossils. Okay, the first type of the fossil is called as the actual remains. This is the different kind of classification of fossil. Okay, so the first type is called as the actual remains. See, these are the most common type of fossils. Okay, these are fossils which comes under the actual remains. These are the very common type of fossil, because majority of the fossil we found today, these are all comes under the actual fossils. These are the plants, animals, and the human bodies got embedded in the permafrost of the Arctic or the alpine snow remain preserved in the actual state. Now, why this particular name is given actual remains? Now, actual means as it is. Okay, actual is there, and remains means the fossil remains. Okay, so the as it is remains of the plants, animals, or the human bodies due to they got embedded in the permafrost of the Arctic or the alpine snow. That is, if the snow or the any other kind of the resin type of the material is enabling the preservation of the whole body structure as it is, the actual remain, then such a kind of the fossil will comes under the actual remains. As you can see in this particular picture, this is the example for the amber. Okay, now see the amber or the hardened resin contain preserved bodies of the insects or the arthropods. This is the prime example for the actual remains, because these are amber. Consider this is a resin ball which is produced by the plants at that time, and this particular insect is somehow got trapped inside this resin ball, and it is got preserved as it is. The whole body structure is got preserved into this particular hardened shell. Okay, and this type of the preservation is called as the amber. What it is called as? It is called as the amber. So amber, in which the actual remains of the plants or the animal life may got trapped. Okay, and for this we have the example as well of the mammoth in the Siberia, because it got under the snow, and its whole body structure is got preserved, as we have seen in the last slides, right? So amber, mammoth are the example for this actual remains. So in the another kind of the classification of the fossils, the very first type is called as the actual remains, in which the body of the plants, animals, or the any other type of the body, it is got completely embedded into the permafrost of the Arctic or the alpine snow, and it will remain intact as it is. For example, the woolly mammoth in the Siberia, and the amber, in which there is a insect or the arthropods which is got completely preserved inside the resin ball. Okay, now consider second one is called as the molds. Okay, now see, molds are the hardened encastements form in the outer parts of the organic remain. Okay, which part? The outer parts of the organic remain, which later decayed, leaving the cavities only. Okay, so this type of the fossil record is called as the molds, in which the outer part is got preserved, but over a period of time it is just giving us the cavities of the structure like this. Okay, so the in the molds, what we will come to know, the original intact part was not there. Okay, the whole part is not there. What is there? Only the outer parts of the organic remains are there, and that too got decayed, leaving the cavities only. Only cavities were remain there, and this type of the fossil record where comes under the molds. Okay, and the whole organism's body is not there. Only the outer part is there, the hardened part is there, and this hardened part is also got decayed. What is there? Only the cavities, and from these cavities we can only draw the general outline of an organism like this. Okay, so this type of fossil record always comes under the molds. Okay, now see, the body parts of the plants or the animals later decay, but the impression still remains. This type of fossil you have seen majority of the time actually in our slides, because majority of the time I have shown you this type of rock is there, and what is there on the rock? The leaves like structure is there. The original structure is got vanished, but what is there? Only the impression. Okay, only the impression of it is left on these particular rocks. So this type of fossils where comes under the molds. Actually, what the mold shows us, it generally is showing the only the body part, not the whole organism, and that body part is also got decayed over a period of time. This body part, the original structure is got removed due to a decaying process or the decomposition. But what is remained there? What is there? There is only the remain of the impression of that particular thing, whether it is the leaf or whether it is the outer shell of an organism, right? And this impression becomes later becomes permanent. For example, we have the footprints form in this manner. Okay, whatever the footprints we found today of the dragon, these are the examples for these molds. Okay, so the many plant leaves are there, these are also what are created by this, shells are also created by this, and the dragon footprint we found today, these are also comes under the molds. Okay, so these are quite different from the actual remains, because in the actual remains you will always find there is a formation of the whole, there is a preservation of the whole body structure. But in the molds you will find the body parts only, whether it's the outer part of the arthropods or the insects, or it's the outer body part of the plants or the animals. So the whole thing has gone, but what is remained is only the impression on the rock. Okay, now consider this. See, the third type of the fossil is called as the cast. Now, they are hardened pieces of the minerals matter that deposited in the cavities of the molds. Okay, so whatever the molds were created there, in the cavities of the molds, the hardened pieces, if you find the hard pieces like this deposited in these molds, in these impressions, see, this is the mold, and if in this mold you will find some hardened deposits, pieces of the hardened deposits, these are all comes under the cast. Okay, so these are studied differently under the fossil record, because here we have the impression, this is called as the mold, and in this mold if there is some kind of preservation in the form of hard structure, this hard structure will always comes under the cast fossil. Okay, now see, the fourth one, which is called as the compressions. Now internal structure is absent, but the thin film of carbon indicates the outline of a external structure like this. Okay, so the internal structure has completely gone from there, but what is remain there? The thin film of carbon. Then all these kinds of the fossil record comes under the compression. So in the different kind of the classification of the fossil, we have studied, the very first is called as the first one is called as the actual remains, right? The second one we have studied the molds, right? And the third one is called as the cast, and the fourth one is called as the compressions. Okay, so all these four types of the fossils are there, and these four types of the fossils are classified on the different criteria. And in the first classification we have studied the actual altered fossil and the unaltered fossil. Okay, so this type of classification is there, and this type of classification is also there. You can follow any type of classification, or this is important because UPSC can individually ask you about the molds, they can individually ask you about the actual remains, and that is why it is very important to cover the all kind of classification of the fossil. Okay, so altered and unaltered type of classification, or the actual remains, or the molds, or the cast, or the compression type of the classification should be, you should know it carefully. Okay, and understand it how they are different from one another. All right, now see the techniques of the fossil studies. Okay, the second part of this topic is called as the study of the fossil record, that how we can study which type of techniques we use to study the fossil record. Okay, the most important is the age, to calculate the age of the fossil. Okay, this is very important, because just by externally examining we can know that these are the plant fossil, these are the animal fossil, this belongs to the arthropods, or this belongs to the insect. But what is important here is to fairly accurately examine the which type of the fossil studies are there. Okay, which type of the aging process is there, which actually determines the age of the fossil record. Okay, now in the past, the geologist or the paleontologist were able to make the fairly accurate estimation of the age of different rock strata and their fossil record by using the known rate of the accumulation of the salt in the ocean. Now see, earlier when there were the no advanced technique, okay, no advanced technique were there, and these advanced techniques which are not these advanced techniques, now today we use it and accurately determine the age of the fossil. But before these advanced technique, which type of technique is used by the scientists to calculate the age of the fossil? If they are see what they are using, this is consider, this is an strata of the mother earth. Okay, these are different types of the strata, and if the fossil is found here, what they do, they will take the sample of this strata. Okay, and they will find out the age of this strata by using the rate of the accumulation of salt in the ocean. Okay, that at what rate the accumulation of salt occurred in the ocean, so what amount of salt is present there, and the salt which is present in the ocean today, they compare these and they accurately determine the age of the strata. Okay, and if the age of the strata is found 5 million years ago, then the fossil may have been there from the 5 million years. Okay, so this is how the fossil record or the age of the earlier fossils were calculated by the geologist or the paleontologist. Now today we have the advanced technique regarding with this, but the earlier technique, what was the earlier technique? That they were always comparing the known rate of the accumulation of salt in the ocean with that time of the strata salt. Okay, and due to this comparison, they will accurately estimate that how much old this particular strata is, and from that strata they will proportionally calculating the how much age this particular fossil is having. Okay, so this one is the ancient technique, and this ancient technique is used by the many scientists to calculate the age of the fossil. But today we have the new techniques for this. Okay, presently the rock deposits are dated largely by taking the advantage of the certain radioactive elements that are transformed into the other elements, right? So here now what we are using, we do not use the salt technique now, we use the radioactive elements. Okay, because these are radioactive elements which are present naturally on the mother earth. These are radioactive elements where tends to got converted into the different elements. Okay, they are getting, for example, this is an A element, and this A element is getting converted into the B element over a period of time. And okay, and this period is generally fixed, that is getting converted into the A form to the B form. For example, 500 million years is required. So just by knowing the how many deposits of the elements is there on the fossil, now we can actually calculate the exact age of the fossil. Okay, which are slow and essentially unaffected by the pressures and temperatures to which the rock has been subjected. Okay, so whatever the rock is there, on this rock, if you study the transformation rate of a particular A element into the B element over a period of time, you can actually give the age of this rock. Okay, that is how many what is the age of this particular rock. And once you know the age of the rock, and if you find the fossil on that rock, you can easily calculate the age of the fossil. So the age of the rock today we calculate by using the radioactive elements. Okay, because radioactive elements tends to transform into the different kinds of element, different kinds of other elements at a rate which is very fixed. Okay, if the fixed rates are there, and these fixed rates are actually giving the this radioactive element very much importance in the fossil studies, because by using this radioactive element we can actually calculate the exact age of the rock. And once we know the exact age of the rock, we can actually calculate the age of the fossil. Okay, for example, the geologists standardly use the uranium lead dating technique. Okay, what is the name of the technique? Uranium lead dating. Okay, you should carefully note it down. Okay, uranium and lead dating is there to estimate the time of the solidification of the rock. Okay, so the solidification of the rock can be calculated by using the radioactive elements such as uranium lead dating. That is, it is got spontaneously convert into the lead which form, that is the radioactive uranium, is decay spontaneously into the lead, and this time period is very fixed, okay, because the half life of the uranium we know today by these numbers, okay, that is the 4 5, and these zeros were there, and this is the value of the half life of the uranium. And by using this value, that is the half life of the uranium which is getting converted into the lead, we can actually calculate the age of the fossil or the age of the rock, okay. So the rock, if there is a rock, and on this particular rock you have find out the fossil record like this, okay. So you can take the sample of this rock, and if you find the uranium on this rock, and this is getting converted into the lead, once there is a formation of uranium on this rock, this uranium will slowly got converted into the lead. Now if this uranium is got converted into this lead, and it is got 50% converted into the lead, then you can actually divide this value by the 50%, half of its value, that is divided by the 2, and you can calculate the age of the rock, okay. And once you know the age of the rock, you can calculate the age of the fossil as well. So uranium lead technique can be there, can be used there to screen out, to take out the age of the rock or the fossils, okay. Now see, for the determination of the age of the fossil, the other radioactive material is also used, okay. Not only the uranium lead technique, okay, uranium and lead technique is popular technique is there, but also the other elements were also there. For example, the radioactive carbon, which is the C14 carbon, is the natural radioactive form produced in the atmosphere from the contact of the naturally occurring C12, okay, with the UV light. So C12, when it comes to with the ultraviolet rays, it will starts converting into the C14, okay. So radioactive carbon C14 is there, is the natural radioactive form, okay. When it is got produced, it is got produced in the atmosphere from an contact of the naturally occurring C12 with the UV radiation. So whenever the UV radiation comes in contact with the C12, it will get converted into the C14. So this type of the radioactive element, for example, radioactive carbon dating technique, can also be used to calculate the age of the rock, right. Now see, it possesses down as a C14 carbon and carbon dioxide, and it enters into the plants and the animal material, right. See, it passes down as a C14 carbon dioxide. So C14 carbon dioxide, as you know, carbon dioxide is used by the plants in the process of photosynthesis. So the C14 carbon dioxide got entered into the plants, and then when these plants were actually eaten by the animals, this is got get into the bodies of the animal as well. So the ratio of the C14 to the C12 remains a constant during their life, okay. So the ratio will be there of the C14 to C12. This ratio will always be remains constant during their life, because the constant interaction of the biological organism with the environment. So by calculating the ratio between the C14 and the C12, you can actually calculate the age of the fossil, okay. So this is an again very popular technique in the aging of the fossil, that is the C14 technique. C14, or this carbon dating technique is there, and this carbon dating technique involves the radioactive form C14 and the C12, which is naturally occurring form. When it come in contact with the UV radiation, this UV radiation will convert this C12 into the C14. This C14 will go into the plants, and from plants it will go into the animals. And once you find the fossil form of the plants or the animals, you will come to know that how much, if you calculate the ratio of the C14 and the C12 in their bodies, you can actually calculate the age of the fossil, okay. So the carbon technique is also the famous technique for the for these particular plants or the animals to date its fossil age, okay. Now consider this: upon death and the fossilization, the ratio decreases as the C14 undergoes the decay, okay. Once these plants or the animals which has this constant ratio of the C14 and the C12, right. So C12 and the C14 during their lifetime, it will remain constant. Now once they got fossilized, okay, what happens? Once they got fossilized, what will happen? The C14 will start to undergo the decaying process. It is possible, therefore, to determine when the fossilized individual lived by comparing them into its C14 and the C12 ratio with that of the naturally maintained during the life. Because during the life, we know they has the constant C14 to C12 ratio, and now they got converted into the fossil, and now the C14 is getting decayed. Okay, that is C14 will got consumed over a period of time, and now the new ratio when compared with the original constant ratio, you can actually calculate the age of that fossil. Okay, so the carbon dating technique is a very famous technique in the category of fossil aging, in which we use the C14 and the C12 form of the carbon. Okay, and the C14 is the radioactive element which is slowly got decayed over a period of time in a body of the fossil, and due to this we can actually calculate the age of the fossil, right? See, the radioactive carbon, whatever the radioactive carbon is there, that is the C14. It has a half life of a 5,568 years, okay, and can only be measured to 25,000 years, or about 5 half lives. Okay, this limitation is results because of the amount of C14 in an organism is so small to begin with. Okay, now see, the half life of this C14 carbon is a 5,568 years. Okay, and we can use it 5 times only, that is for the 25,000 years alone. Now, why this happen? Because the amount of the C14 carbon is very low, which is found in the fossil record, and due to this low quantity, we can use up to the 5 times only it. Okay, and the half life for it is the 5,568 years, and that is why by using these numericals, you can exactly calculate that how much C14 is there and how much the age of the fossil is there from that. Okay, so the ratio at the lifetime and the ratio after the fossilization, when you compared it, you can actually calculate the age of the fossil by using the carbon's half-life period, which is the 5,568 years. The only limitation is that you can use up to the 5 half-lives only, that is 25 years only, because it is present in a very trace amount in the fossilized organism. All right, now see, the recently the transformation of the radioactive potassium is also used, that is K40. Okay, this is the recent technique, the potassium, radioactive potassium, it getting converted into the argon and the rubidium to the strontium. Okay, this particular potassium is get converted into the argon or the rubidium and the strontium over a period of time, has been used in a similar way for the dating of the fossil bearing rock of the any age or the type. Okay, so this is quite an new technique. The half life is there, and by using the half life, the potassium, when it got, how it got converted, or how much it got converted into the argon, or how much it got converted into the rubidium, or how much it got converted into strontium, depending upon this, we can actually calculate the age of the fossil or age of the rock. Okay, now see, K40 has a half life of the 1.3 billion years. Okay, this is the half life of the potassium, and from this half life you can calculate, you can have the calculations to age the fossils, right? Also, because of its greater concentration in the most of the rocks, it is more accurate method of dating the fossil than the uranium, a relatively rare element. Okay, because uranium is not present in every kind of rock, but the potassium is found nearly in almost all types of the rock, and that is why the potassium is considered as a more favorable in while dating the carbon, while dating the fossils or the rocks. Okay, and that is why it shows the most promise over the uranium, or say over a carbon. Okay, so the C14, sorry, is the K40 has the half life of 1.3 billion years, and these 1.3 billion years can be used to calculate the age of the fossil, because it is slowly get converted into the argon, rubidium, and strontium. How much it got converted? Once we calculate that, we can calculate the exact age of that rock or the fossils. Okay, so in latest timings, there is another method which we also use. This is the bed of the pre-humans fossil in the South America is dated by the rock composition give results of the 5 lakhs years, whereas the radioactive potassium dating method indicated that there is a much more years of the fossil record are there. Age of the fossil record is much more than the earlier thought, right? It's actually 17 lakhs 50,000, but it was earlier shown as a 5 lakhs only. A most important difference considering the nature of the fossil. Okay, so you can say that the aging technique by using the potassium is the most accurate technique over other techniques, right? Now see, relatively short periods of the geological time are estimated by measuring the rates of which the waterfalls resides upstream as they wear away by the rocks. Okay. Now see, whenever we talk about the geological time scale, there is a long history of the geological time scale, right? But if you find some earliest fossil, okay, to study this earliest fossil or the earliest strata or the earliest rock, the simple methods can also be used. For example, see the relatively short period of the geologic time. Okay, so relatively short, if you want to calculate the relatively short period, it is can be estimated by using the rate at which the waterfall resides upstream. Okay, what waterfall resides upstream as they wear away the rocks over which the tumble or the counting of the annual deposits of the clay on the bottom of the ponds and the lakes. Okay, so how much clay or in the bottoms of the ponds and the lakes is there, on depending upon this we can roughly calculate the relatively short period on the geological time scale. This is because the amount of the clay or amount of the rock which is removed by the running water is constant. Okay, we can actually calculate it, and so how much deposition of the clay is in the bottoms of the clays or the lake ponds or the lakes, it can give the accurate estimation of the how much age of the rock is there. Okay, because the downfall of the water and the removal of the rock by the water forces and taking it to the pond's bottom, it is calculable, and that is why we can actually calculate the age of the fossil as well if it is a relatively short period of time over a geological scale. Okay, if we want to calculate the longer periods, then this technique is not useful. Okay, in that sense the K40 technique or the uranium technique or the carbon technique are used. Okay, so these are all the methods by which we can study the fossils. All right, so this is all about this topic. Okay, thank you very much for watching this video. Please like this video, share this video with your friends who are studying the botany, and if you haven't subscribed to the Botany Capsule channel yet, please subscribe to the Botany Capsule channel for UPSC examination. Again, thank you very much for giving your time. See you in the next video lecture. Thank you.